Hello everybody, it is May 7th, 2025 here in the United States of America, and in today's video I would like to talk about the conundrum that President Donald Trump finds himself in regards to Iran and what I believe he would like to do in regards to the Iranian question versus what he's being pushed to do. So the Trump administration, the previous Trump administration and this one, have always been fairly hawkish on Iran, or at least they appear to be. Trump threw out the Iran nuclear deal that was put in place by his predecessor Barack Obama. He killed one of Iran's top generals in Iraq, and everyone thought when that strike happened that war with Iran was imminent, but it was not. Iran lobbed some missiles at a U.S. base, and that seemed to be that. Now it would appear again that there is a fairly concerted effort again to get Americans to support a direct strike on Iran. There have been several instances in the past year, specifically last year, of missile strikes being exchanged between Iran and Israel, direct missile strikes at military targets and infrastructure. That's unprecedented. That hasn't happened. Again, that was something that people witnessed and assumed that this was the beginning stages of a direct confrontation between Iran and Israel. Now, a little background on why there are so many problems between Iran and Israel. Israel knows that the country was founded in the midst of hostile powers. It always has been. Israel has had this, regardless of how it was founded, what anyone's opinion on how morally dubious its founding might have been in regards to the people already living in the region. The fact is, Israel is in a position where it views itself as a state constantly under threat, constantly surrounded by enemies. It has fought several wars against its Arab neighbors, and today the nexus, if you will, of hostility towards Israel seems to be coming out of Iran. That's where most funding for Hezbollah comes from, the Houthis in Yemen, the funding for Hamas was linked to Iran, and that's, I would say, the center of the axis of resistance, if you will, against Israeli occupation of what they see as rightfully Palestinian lands. The center of that has always been assumed to be Iran. So from the Israeli perspective, Iran is a threat that needs to be dealt with and eliminated once and for all to ensure their survival. At this time, Israel is not currently in the midst of any kind of conflict with Jordan, with Egypt, with Saudi Arabia. There have been some issues with Turkey recently, mostly coming down to rhetoric and then vying for control of what's left of Syria. But the Israeli government, first and foremost, view Iran as their main threat. Now, this is from the Israeli point of view. Doesn't mean I necessarily agree with it. Now, be that having said that, one of the reasons why Israel has such a strong lobby in the United States is because Israel needs an insurance policy for its survival. And to them, what better insurance policy is there than one of the most, if not the most, militarily and economically powerful nations on the planet? That's the one thing that Israel always feels that it's in its back pocket is the power of the U.S. military. It's a pretty large deterrent. That's something to Israel's military, although on paper is potent. It has run into some problems. It is with its performance in Gaza. It's composed of a fairly large amount of conscripts that didn't perform as well in combat as some people assumed that they would. Their air power is limited. Their manufacturing capabilities are limited. They only have a fraction of the population of some of the other Arab countries, which means they can't field as many men. Israel, despite its reputation and the fact that it has nuclear weapons, if it were to get into another regional war with, say, multiple Arab powers at once, they know that without American backing, American intelligence, American weaponry, American planes, that they could be overwhelmed. They know this. This is why there is such a strong Israeli lobby in the United States. To them, it's a matter of survival. This is why AIPAC exists. Now, again, I'm not saying that the existence of AIPAC in America and having a foreign lobby within our own country directing American foreign policy is a good thing. I'm saying this is just reality. And this lobby is always in Donald Trump's ear, pushing him to finally pull the trigger on Iran and help Israel finally eliminate its main threats and overturn the government of Iran. Now, here's the problem that Donald Trump finds himself in. Donald Trump is not an interventionalist, regardless of what some people might think. Donald Trump will do the bare minimum as far as direct intervention to keep his allies happy, but other than that, President Trump prefers to keep America out of pointless foreign wars. This is something that is deeply ingrained in American culture. I heard on a podcast the other day, somebody asking, well, why does America consistently abandon its allies? That happens because the United States government, the people in charge, are always trying to mold America into something that it's not. America has very isolationist tendencies, and the reason for that is America is essentially on a fortress. It's on the geographically the most advantageous piece of land on this planet. It is a massive empire-sized country spanning between two oceans that has all the land and natural resources that it could ever need, and two weak neighbors, Canada to the north and Mexico to the south. There is not a cultural incentive for military adventures around the world, and there never has been. Americans culturally have always wanted to focus on our direct sphere of influence, which is why when America is entangled in any kind of foreign conflict that lasts longer than a few years, there's always a lot of pushback against it, because again, it's not something that we're culturally inclined to. Americans don't want to bring Americanism to every shore across the world, regardless of what some of our leaders might say. It's not something that we find culturally appealing, no matter how much it's shoved down our throats. And that's the same thing with Iran, and Trump knows this. His base largely does not want another war in the Middle East. That's something that he ran on. No more wars in the Middle East, no direct interventions in Ukraine. And the Israeli lobby is constantly pushing Donald Trump to get involved in a war with Iran. And then President Trump also doesn't want to be seen as abandoning yet another ally, because, again, it's bad for the reputation of the United States. It's bad for his reputation, and it makes diplomacy more difficult when the United States has put itself in a position where it's constantly allying itself with other smaller foreign powers against its own interest, and then abandoning those foreign powers once it's obvious that that's no longer in their interest, and the American people are not happy with the current situation around whatever foreign power that might be. I mean, that's the problem with Ukraine. This was a mess that I believe that President Trump and many of the American government think that the United States never should have entangled itself in, and now there's no good way out. Okay, say America does the pragmatic and practical thing, which is leave Ukraine to its fate or force Ukraine to sign some kind of peace agreement that it would acknowledge that it's clearly lost the war. At that point, America again would be seen as abandoning an ally. Same thing with Israel. I believe there's actually a lot of tension between President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu over this issue. Is Donald Trump is the president of the sovereign United States of America, from his point of view, the most powerful nation on the planet. Why should he be told what to do? by another world leader? Why should he be coaxed, or why should his hand be forced on anything? Why should there be some kind of direct intervention by America anywhere against his and his administration's will? And while certain things are said publicly to make it look like there's still strong support for Israel, from what I understand, there's actually a fair bit of friction behind the scenes now with dealing with Benjamin Netanyahu in regards to United States support for the war in Gaza, continued support for it, support for the war with Iran, because again, Donald Trump knows that much of the MAGA movement views these wars as not America's wars. They don't want involved with them. So I believe that Donald Trump is trying to walk a line between finding a way not to intervene in this war directly, or this potential conflict, but also, again, appeasing an ally. I mean, regardless of what people think of the nation of Israel, at this point, yes, they are an American ally, and they have a large amount of influence in this country. Donald Trump knows that. It's hard for any politician just to cut off Israel and say, no more support, we're done. Their lobby in this country is too strong. President Trump knows that. So I believe he's attempting, and I don't know if this is even possible, to walk a fine line between, okay, rhetoric against Iran, bomb the Iranians into the Stone Age, the Ayatollah better not step out of line, and then trying to make it clear to the Israelis that the United States is not their personal attack dog. That's not the role of the United States, and that's not the position we should put ourselves in. The United States is going to do what it wants to do when it wants to do it. Isn't going to be coerced into doing anything other than that. That's my personal view on the situation. Now, how that plays out, I'm not really sure. Do I think that Israel would directly attack Iran without American support? I don't think they would. Without some kind of American guarantee of support, I don't think they would. Again, they want that leverage in their back pocket to ensure that no other Arab nations, or no Arab nations in the region, I mean, Iran's not Arab, they're Persian, but they want that insurance policy in place that they don't face major retaliation from other powers in the region, because they have the United States currently in their corner. And I believe without the United States firmly in their corner, Israel would be much more hesitant to launch any kind of aggressive military action in the region. Yes, it's true they do have nuclear weapons, and that is a deterrent, but having almost unlimited resources and money and military hardware behind them, I think is a bit more important to them than a handful of nuclear weapons that once they're used invite major retaliation themselves. If Israel ever were to launch nuclear weapons against any power in the region, well, find out pretty quickly if Iran actually has nuclear weapons and how far as Pakistan can reach. So, will Israel attack Iran? Will the United States be involved in it? It's hard to see, and I don't believe so. At the end of the day, I think Trump's non-interventionist, isolationist tendencies will override that. Could be wrong. I hope I'm not wrong. Personally, I prefer the United States not get involved in another major war. And also, too, this issue with Yemen I find kind of strange today. It seems to be that Donald Trump has declared victory over the Houthis, seemingly halting airstrikes. From my point of view, I suspect that this was done as retaliation against, I don't want to say direct retaliation, but leverage against Israel. Stop telling us what to do, stop trying to get us involved in your wars, or we'll stop intervening in Yemen, and we'll let the Houthis do as they please. This isn't really of interest to us. Why should we be doing this in the first place? We're just losing hardware, and this is a much more difficult task than anyone had assumed, because it is. The Houthis are very tough not to crack, and perhaps President Trump is signaling that, well, if he keeps being pushed in a certain direction in regards to Iran, then perhaps those airstrikes against the Houthis don't need to happen after all. That's just what I suspect. Whether or not that's true, I'm not sure. And I also have heard that Mike Waltz was recently let go partially for things involving the Israeli government, something about planning things with Benjamin Netanyahu behind Donald Trump's back. I don't know how true any of that is, but again, if all that were true, and this halt of attacks against the Houthis, if those if that's true, and then the strikes against the Houthis is being pulled back soon after the firing of Mike Waltz, then yes, it would make sense that there are some tensions behind the scenes, and that Donald Trump is attempting to still be friendly with Israel and appease the Israel lobby, but at the same time not be directly pushed into anything militarily. But anyways, that's all I wanted to talk about today. I'll be back Saturday with another video, and hope everyone out there has a good one.